I never imagined that the sins of a man I barely knew would one day suffocate me like a noose tightened around my neck. My father, if he even deserved that name, disappeared without a trace, leaving me with nothing but a mountain of debts, stained with blood and betrayal. $100 million. That's the price I woke up to, slapped across my back by cold, relentless debt collectors who didn't blink when they took the deed to my home, watching my every move like I was some kind of hunted animal. I didn't even have the luxury of anger anymore. Just a dull ache that settled deep inside my chest, a hollow space where trust used to live. My name is Luca. I'm 27. Tall enough to notice, muscular enough to defend, and Omega with scars hidden beneath my skin, scars earned through 3 brutal years in the military, years spent in missions where death was a constant companion, and survival was an act of rebellion. I wasn't your typical Omega. I was trained, hardened, a ghost in the shadows of war zones most wouldn't dare enter. My only family now is Quinn. Quinn with the stormy eyes and fingers that dance across keyboards like a magician's wand. A hacker so brilliant, governments tremble at his name. He was the only one who stuck by me, the only one who believed I could claw my way out of the mess left by my father. 2 weeks. That was all the time I was given to find the man who had abandoned me to rot. I begged for 3, but the debt collectors weren't interested in kindness or patience. They stripped me of my house, turned my life upside down, and tightened the noose with every passing day. I ran not from the problem, but toward it. Quinn and I hunted through the ruins of my father's life, financial records burned in shadows, whispered names in smoky backrooms, a digital trail of lies and fear. 9 days later, we found him. Trembling, broken, hiding behind the velvet curtains of a Monaco casino, a man who looked nothing like the father I'd imagined. We dragged him back, his eyes avoiding mine, full of shame and something darker. When the debt collectors saw him, I met their cold gazes without a flicker of mercy. Do what you want, I told them. Cut off his head, sell his organs, just stay away from me. After that, I vanished into normalcy, or at least what I could fake as normal. I took a job stocking shelves at a small corner store, a place too small to notice me, but just big enough to give me the illusion of stability. I cleaned floors until my hands ached, arranged products with mechanical precision, and pretended I had a future. But the world had other plans. Someone was watching. His name was Alex Lucchese, the Red Angel, the whispered nightmare of the country's criminal underworld. The head of the Lucchese syndicate, a mafia empire feared for its ruthlessness and iron grip. The kind of man who could snap his fingers and make cities bleed. I didn't notice him at first. Just another customer, too clean, too polished, with an alpha scent so sharp it cut through the stale air of the store. But I caught him, just as he caught me, 2 wolves circling silently, waiting for the right moment. The day 3 thugs stormed into the store, knives flashing and teeth bared, I stayed calm. They expected easy prey and Omega alone, fragile. Instead, they found a force they hadn't counted on. I flipped their knives from my hands, cracked ribs and bones with precise strikes born of years in the military. When they lay unconscious at my feet, I saw the flicker of disbelief in Alex's eyes. He's the one, he muttered under his breath. From that moment, he appeared every day, lingering like a shadow at the edge of my life. Small purchases, gum, cigarettes, mints he never touched, but his eyes never left me. Every visit was a silent conversation, an unspoken challenge. One evening, as the fading daylight sifted through the grimy windows of the corner store, I wiped down the counter methodically, trying to calm the storm inside me. The day had been long, each minute stretching like a steel wire, taut and ready to snap. My muscles ached from exhaustion, my mind weighed down by the ghosts of the past week's debts, danger, and the relentless pursuit of a future I wasn't sure I deserved. He was there again, Alex. Leaning casually against the doorframe, his eyes fixed on me with that unreadable intensity. He always came at the edges of the day, like twilight creeping in to claim the world between light and dark. Why are you here every day? I asked, my voice quieter than I meant it to be, almost a whisper over the hum of the flickering fluorescent lights. Maybe I like the service, he said, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. I met his gaze, unflinching. Try again. His smile sharpened, and he stepped closer, voice dropping to a low, rough murmur. You're interesting. I arched an eyebrow. You think I don't know who you are, Red Angel? His amusement flickered briefly. How did you find out? Please. You're practically a celebrity in the criminal underworld. Not for long, he said, the threat masked beneath a grin. Good luck with that. That night, he stayed longer than usual, the air thick with unspoken words. We talked sometimes about nothing, sometimes about things that cut too close to the bone. He was patient in a way that didn't fit the violent world he ruled. Patient enough to wait for me to let my guard down, brick by brick. Days passed, and the rhythm of his visits settled into something almost normal. Almost. He never rushed me. Never pressed for more than I was willing to give. And slowly, the walls I'd built around my heart began to crumble, not with a crash, but with quiet insistence. But none of it prepared me for what happened next. That night, caught in the storm of an unrelenting heat, the kind that made every nerve feel alive and aching, we gave in to something fierce and unyielding. The world narrowed down to just the two of us, fire and flesh and breath tangled together. Clothes torn. Breaths stolen. Hearts opened in a way I hadn't thought possible. When the night ended, I lay awake, skin still humming from the intensity, a secret growing inside me, one I didn't understand yet. In the days that followed, Alex's visits shifted. He brought me things: better clothes, food when I was too tired to move, small acts of care that said more than words ever could. But never once did he mention the heat, or the night, or anything that might hint at what was silently changing between us. It wasn't until I felt the first waves of nausea that the truth forced itself into the light. I sat in the sterile waiting room of the clinic, heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst through my ribs. The ultrasound picture burned a hole in my pocket, a tiny flicker of life that was both terrifying and beautiful. I found myself standing outside Alex's door one night, trembling as I knocked. He opened the door immediately, concern flashing in his eyes. Luca? I'm pregnant, I whispered, my voice barely holding together. For a moment, silence stretched between us like a fragile thread. Then he stepped forward, pulling me into his arms like I was the only thing keeping him tethered to this world. You're not alone. Not now. Not ever again. No words were spoken after that. None were needed. We sat on the floor of his penthouse, arms wrapped tightly around each other, letting the quiet speak the promises we were both too afraid to say aloud. After a long moment, my voice cracked, barely more than a breath. I'm scared, Alex. He tightened his hold, his breath warm against my hair. Me too, he said softly. But let's be scared together. We don't have to face this alone. His words wrapped around me like a shield, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we could survive this together. From that moment on, everything changed. Alex became more than just a shadow at the edge of my life. He became my protector, my partner, my anchor. He started sending vitamins, baby clothes, anything I might need to prepare for the life growing inside me. Every gesture was a promise. I was no longer alone in this fight. The first trimester hit me like a freight train, nausea twisting my stomach, fatigue dragging me down, mood swings that made me want to break everything in sight. But through it all, Alex was there. Quietly steady. When I couldn't get out of bed, he brought me soup and medicine. When the walls felt like they were closing in, he held me like I was the most precious thing in the world. Some nights, I'd wake to the faint flutter of movement inside me, a tiny reminder of the future we were building together. It's growing, I whispered once, placing his hand over my stomach. His voice caught on the breath. I didn't think I could love something this much before it was even born. Months passed, and the harshness of our world tried to creep in at every turn, but we fought for the fragile bubble we had carved out, two broken people trying to build something whole. Alex became fiercely protective, his usual cool control giving way to a fierce tenderness I'd never seen before. One rainy afternoon, as I sat curled up on the couch, overwhelmed by a mix of exhaustion and hope, he knelt before me, pulling out a small velvet box. Say yes, he said simply, eyes searching mine. I laughed, the sound shaky but genuine. Are you high? No, he said, smiling. Just in love. You think that's enough? No, he admitted. But it's a start. I didn't say yes that day. But I didn't say no either. We were building a life on uncertain ground, and that was okay. A year later, we stood before a small chapel surrounded by guards and friends who had bled beside us. There was no family, no pretense, just us and the world we had fought to protect. Gunfire echoed in the distance as we exchanged vows, promises forged in blood and passion. In sickness and in gunfights, I whispered. He grinned. In passion and in blood. We kissed, sealing the bond no one could break. We bought a house by the coast, windows tall enough to catch every sunrise, bulletproof glass shielding our fragile peace, and a secret room where weapons were kept, silent sentinels against the dangers that still lurked. Our daughter, Mara, was born under a sky painted with northern lights, her eyes wide and curious, a perfect mix of us both. 6 years later, chaos doubled with the arrival of our twin sons, Lucian and Rafe. Little storms of laughter and trouble who turned our home into a battlefield and a sanctuary all at once. Through sleepless nights, whispered threats, and stolen moments of joy, Alex never stopped looking at me the way he did that first time, a mix of awe, love, and fierce protectiveness. Because to him, I was more than just an Omega, more than a debt to be paid. I was his universe. And I, finally, was home.